Continuing on with tornadoes, talking a little bit about some of the other forms that I can get. So sometimes I'll get a single tornado. Do not think that a supercell will only develop one tornado. Actually, it's more likely that a supercell can formulate more than one tornado, and they can do them kind of back to back. So I can have one tornado form for a few minutes, like 5 minutes, and then dissipate, and then another tornado form and dissipate, and I can have that supercell, that same supercell, spawn like 18 tornadoes. It can happen. Another thing that can occur is I can have several smaller tornadoes along what's called a tornado center, or actually one central tornado and little tornadoes around it called satellite tornadoes. And those are little tornadoes that are rotating around the big one. This is a process that is due what's called suction vorticity, which means the cloud to ground connections are occurring here, and then those cloud to ground connections are also spinning, and so they're spinning around a very intense low pressure center, which does not have a vertical air mass or cloud to ground connection. Now, I previously mentioned this, but just going through it again, the natural scale for tornadoes is based on the Fujita scale, which is named after Theodore Fujita, who was a tornado meteorologist. And he came up with a standard scale set based on the potential for damage, but it's actually based off of wind speeds and the rotational wind speed plus the gust wind speed, or actually it's kind of based more on the gust wind speed and the visible site of the tornado, because the chances of us being able to clock the wind speeds of the tornado itself were more difficult at the time that he developed the scale. And now we actually have the tools to clock the wind speeds of the tornado rotations if we can get instrumentation into the location of the tornado. If we can't get it in there, we have to base it off of other information as to what scale it is. But basically an EF scale on its set is something that has a rotational wind speed of its set of 105, but this is what we would call rotational of 65 to 85 miles per hour on its standard set. And EF1 is stuff that picks up, and you can basically see it continue. Now, EF5 is just anything over 200. Anything over 200 is an EF5. There is no EF6, EF7, EF8. There's none of that. It's just anything over an EF5 is 200 or more on its rotational scale. Either way, if you are in a structure that is not built to withstand rotational winds and wind speeds of that caliber, you're in danger. I don't care if it's an EF0 or if it's an EF2 that's coming at you. If you're not in a place that's built to withstand tornadoes, you're not safe in those situations, and you should take precaution. Tornado outbreaks are when we get several tornadoes occurring within one system. So I can have a squall line, for example, and in that squall line, if I'm having 6 tornado outbreaks before that squall line dissipates, goes into its dissipation stage of thunderstorms, right? If I have at least 6 tornadoes from that squall line or more occur, I will call it a tornado outbreak. And this happens more often in the United States than anywhere else in the world, and the chances of it happening is pretty high. Oftentimes, if I get a tornado on one part of the squall line, it means that those tornadoes and the moisture present and the air rotation is strong enough that I'm causing a lot of rolling clouds, which means I can get a lot of vertical action. And if I push that rotational cloud, that rolling cloud vertical, I can get tornadoes. And so if I get one tornado, I go on high alert to look and see if there's more tornadoes in the area. As far as trends in tornado occurrences, you can basically see that there has been seasons with very high trending tornadoes and seasons that have dropped down with less trending tornadoes. But one of the things that we can definitely say about tornado occurrences in the United States is that they are occurring more often now than they did 25 years ago. they are also getting stronger. So those are two things that I can say. Now, as far as their frequency and occurrence, that's questionable because the way that we can respond or image tornadoes prior to the 90s actually was through visible. Somebody had to see it and call it in and say, there's a tornado. And we'd be like, oh, there's a tornado. And that's how we report on it. After the 90s, we begin to use certain imaging and data, satellite information, as well as just having small stationed weather stations that can pick up heavy wind speeds. So we'd see the thunderstorm, then we pick up these wind speeds that are gusting off and on, and we'll say, oh, there's definitely action there, and it's reading like a tornado in the data. And so we can predict or say that there's more tornadoes occurring. So the frequency of tornadoes is hard to tell if they're actually getting more frequent or if we've just gotten better at recording them in our data. So I'm just putting that out there. But overall, we have seen at least an increase in the strength of the tornadoes. They are stronger than they have ever been. As far as fatalities, while tornadoes have gotten stronger in the last 20 years, the chances of dying of a tornado has dropped drastically, and that's because we've gotten better at actually recording and figuring out when they're going to come about and putting out that information so that people can get to safe places. If you live in a place that's tornado prone, we are building those homes and structures for tornado safety, right? As far as total fatalities, though, due to tornadoes since or from 2000 to 2011, you can see that there's certain locations that have received some of the worst tornadoes. And when I go through my special topic, because I'm going to add one special topic video of top 10 tornadoes, one of the worst tornadoes, top 10 tornadoes to ever occur in the United States just happened recently in Joplin, Missouri. And so while we've gotten better at predicting them and therefore it's reduced the number of fatalities, population has increased. And locations where population density is greater has a higher chance of debris. And debris getting picked up and thrown around has a higher chance of causing fatalities. And so we've seen some real tragic things occurring. As far as, once again, reporting, if you hear of a tornado watch, you should begin to move to a place that is safe and can withstand tornadoes. If you hear tornado warning, buckle down because it is coming. Warning means it's here. It is touchdown. We've seen it. We've confirmed there is definitely a tornado. Tornado watch means that there's potential and it's incredibly high. Just talking quickly, just abbreviations. Tornado forecasting and convective outlook is one of the data reactionaries that we have, that when we see a set of thunderstorms occurring, we can then take in a percentage reading as to where a tornado will occur and what times that tornado occurrence can happen and how long that tornado will persist. Will it move and last for a minute? Will it last for 5 minutes? Will it last for 20 minutes? Like I said, most tornadoes touch down, they're weak, and they last less than 5 minutes. One of the types of tornadoes is waterspouts. They're the beautiful ones that occur over the water, and because they're picking up water moisture, they tend to have a wet color. It almost looks like the cloud is pouring water down it, right? And it's a rotational cloud set that we call a waterspout. Waterspouts are responsible for all those fun stories about raining animals, where we hear like, it rained fish. It rained fish because a waterspout occurred, picked up a bunch of fish, and carried it in the air. And when the air ran out of the energy to hold it aloft, it dropped them, causing the raining of the random creature. And so there's just been some really great stories about raining animals, and pretty much waterspouts are always to blame for those occurrences. So on that note, I'm going to pick up with my special video talking more about tornadoes, tornado safety, and like the top 10 worst tornadoes.